Hey, I'm Alan for Old English Outfitters. So today we're going to take a look at a brand new pistol that Walther has. Now, before we start talking directly about that brand new pistol, we're going to talk about its immediate descendant, or I should say precedent. Walther for a long time has had this pistol, the PPQ. The PPQ is notable for a couple of things. One is its excellent feeling grip, very rounded, very ergonomic. It's shaped correctly in all the right places. The other thing it's known for is its trigger. And the very short reset on the trigger takes just an extremely short travel, and it's a very audible reset. Those two things make this pistol a standout amongst a lot of striker-fired pistols. One of the best striker-fired triggers out there of anything. The PPQ. So what Walther has done now is they have evolved the PPQ. And now we have the PDP, Performance Duty Pistol. The Performance Duty pistol is going to be a little bit different than the original PPQ in a few respects. It'll actually use PPQ magazines. The basic mechanism is really the same. Some of the internals are beefed up a little bit, but some of the features on the outside is going to make this a standout even more so than the original PPQ was. First of all, what they've done is the grip. They make a metal framed series in the PPQ. And the metal frame series changed the grip texture considerably. And we've got that same grip texture on this, even though this is a polymer frame, so still relatively light gun. But this new grip texture is much more aggressive. We've gone to more of a flat front here, where on the original we had a little bit of ripple right there, if you can see it. Instead, we've got some ripples kind of in the side. They're not really finger grooves. They're just raised portions in the side of the grip. You'd have to really feel them to understand what they're like. This is not overly aggressive. It's not difficult or uncomfortable to shoot, but it does make sure that the gun stays put in your hand. The original PPQ came with a couple of different backstrap pieces here, so you could vary the grip size. So does this one. Works the same way. Push the pin out, change the back, put the pin back in. Works the same way. Excellent feel to this texture. It really, really feels good in your hand, really locks it in. Fast enough. Still a very right or left-handed friendly pistol. We have an ambidextrous slide release that's low profile but still very easy and very fast to use. We have a magazine release that is a button. Now on the original PPQ, if you were familiar with it, the original guns had the paddle release, which is popular over in Europe. Americans like button releases. So the M2 version of the PPQ, which is what this one is I just showed you, went to a button magazine release. On the Performance Duty pistol, the PDP, the newest evolution of the gun, you're going to have a button magazine release. It is reversible. So if you're left-handed, just swap it to the other side. Unless you like to run it with your trigger finger, which works too. That grip makes this pistol a standout. It maintains that excellent rounded ergonomic feel of the original, but adds to it a more aggressive but not overly so, grip texture. Really, really outstanding. The other thing they did was, if you look at the slide on the original gun, you had front and rear cocking serrations that were somewhat shallow, and the slide's kind of tapered. On the PDP, the slide is much more flat and square, but we've got some really deep front and rear cocking serrations. That's nice. It lets you, either barehanded or with gloves, get a really good grip on those cocking serrations. But the other thing they did was they added an optics plate up here. So this pistol comes already optics ready. Now, we've talked about this how many times, about how small optics are becoming a real trend on pistols. Carry pistols, duty pistols for law enforcement and other folks, becoming a real trend because battery technology has reached the point where battery life is excellent. The miniaturization of the electronics is making the sights themselves small, compact, so you don't add a lot of weight or mass to the gun, so it doesn't affect the reliability of the gun, and it gives you that single red dot to look at. So we got an optics plate here, and deep cocking serrations. Very, very nice. This is an impressive pistol to shoot. The trigger. The PPQ, the original version, already had an excellent trigger. Well, they made it better, frankly. This is probably the best striker-fired trigger in terms of how it feels that's out there. It's really interesting. You got a little bit of take up and it stops. And once it stops, you got a nice crisp breakup. You don't have that. Sometimes striker fired triggers feel mushy. Sometimes you can feel compression of the striker spring. You really can on this. It's slight bit of take up, stops, and then it breaks. Absolutely excellent striker fired trigger. The reset is a little different than the original gun. The reset on this is maybe even just a touch shorter than on the original gun, but it's also quieter. It hardly is audible at all. Contributes to really fast shooting with good control over the pistol. Impressive gun, really is. Something else is different from this compared to the original PPQ. Original PPQ, 15-round magazine. This is the PDP, 15-round magazine. Magazines will interchange. You can use magazines from the older guns, no problem. This is really just a refinement of the PPQ. But something else that's different is there's going to be another version of this. There's going to be a larger version, a full-size pistol that'll have like an 18-round magazine. Obviously, the shorter 15-round mags from this gun or the original PPQ are not going to work in that pistol. The longer 18s for the full-size version of this, don't have one of those yet, will work in this. They'll just stick out the bottom a little bit. You've got a little adjustable rear sight here, and you've got just a fixed sight up here. They're going to look a little bit like Glock sights in profile, but instead of having the outline like Glock has in the rear, you've got 3 white dots here. So 2 in the back, 1 in the front. On the subject of the optics plate, with the pistol comes this form. You don't get any optics plates with the pistol. But what they've done is they're giving you a form that lets you can redeem 1 free optic plate from them. So you're going to have to decide which optic you want. And this will take the Doctor Optic, Trijicon RMR, Trijicon SRO, 3 different versions of the Holosun sight, Loophole Delta Point or the Shield RMS or the Vortex Viper. You got different plates for those things. So you pick the plate you want. You can contact Walther. They'll send you 1 free. And I'm sure you could buy others if you wanted to use a different optic of some sort. So you get the optic plate, take the screws out, take this plate off, put the optic plate on, mount your optic of choice, zero it up, and away you go. Good setup. Something else they did with this that's a little bit different and speaks to concerns for safety. You can still take this apart exactly the same way that you did the original PPQ, which was by first making it sure that it's safe, pulling down on the disassembly lever, pull the trigger, and the slide comes off. But something else they've done with this is they've set it up so you don't have to pull the trigger. You need a little punch of some sort, but you can put it in that hole and just pull the back plate off and then pull the firing pin out, and then you can just take the slide off without having to pull the trigger. You can do it either way. That would be a good thing from the perspective, especially if the pistol got dunked in the water or in a bunch of crud or something, and you need to take firing pin out, make sure the channel is all cleared and dry. Don't lube the firing pin channel with anything. You want that to be dry, but if you needed to clean that out, that's real convenient to do that. Remember, though, if you do that, you're going to have a couple small parts, backplate and firing pin. So you want to make sure those stay where you can find them. Don't knock them off the table or lose them or something. Once you put it back together, it's very simple. You slide it back on, and you're back in business. Impressive gun. Very easy to shoot. Plenty accurate. Walthers tend to be accurate. These people have been making guns for a long time. They know how to build barrels. We had no trouble hitting some small things with it, hitting the plates at speed. Worked really good. This is the compact version. Retail price on this for us is going to be $629. That's not bad. For something with these kind of features, that is not bad at all. The full-size version will be coming in at some point. I'm not sure what the price point will be on that. Might be similar. So be on the lookout for those too. Again, the things that make this a standout are the really sought-after modern things like the optics plate, the ability to readily mount an optic without having to change the slide or take the gun anywhere and get it machined. So the excellent trigger, the deep cocking serrations, these are really nice. They really give you a good purchase on the slide. I've had where you go to grab a gun and you've got shallow serrations and your hand slides off of it, especially if you're wet or the gun's a little oily or something like that. These are really nice to give you a good purchase. The other thing is that excellent grip, not just in shape, but in texture. This really locks it into your hand. Impressive gun. So we think you're going to like it. We're going to get more of them in, so come pay us a visit. All right, that's all we have for today. Until next time, thanks for watching. I'm Alan for Old English Outfitters.